that have the mic built into them.
But if I use a tip ring, if I convert it to tip ring sleeve for the mic, then it works. Then the mic is not shorted out, and then it works.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think it's easier to get a new computer for me.
This is a new computer.
Here.
Yeah, well, all the new computers don't have a separate mic and earpiece jack. It's a hybrid.
I know. Mine clearly only has one, so it's like, I didn't know they ever had two. I just thought it was an output.
Yeah, because I checked the mic with an older laptop that had a separate mic connector, 3.5 millimeter receptacle, and it worked fine. I plug it into this adapter and plug it into the hybrid connector, and I got no audio going in.
Is the adapter you're using one that's made specifically for that?
This is an adapter that what it takes is that it splits the hybrid into a separate earphone and mic.
These are actually color-coded.
Huh?
These are actually color-coded. Green for the mic and red for
I have it in the other room. And I think from what I remember, the mic audio is actually the sleeve. You think that's the ground. And then the next ring over, I think, is ground. And then the other ring is earpiece left channel, and then the tip is earpiece right channel or something.
So, Mike, can you hold that up again? What you were showing?
Yeah, and that's got one end is tip ring sleeve, correct? And the other ends are color coded, and the green one is for the headphones, and the pink one is for the mic.
This end is female, and the other two are male. One of them's green for the mic, and one of them's pink.
Right.
For the headphones.
Pink is for the mic, and the green is for the headphone.
Right.
And then the male end is tip ring sleeve, like you would on a, headphone that's also a mic when you're, hook it up to your phone, if you want to take calls. And
then the headphone actually has a 4 conductor plug on it.
Right. Yeah, it's a tip ring sleeve, 4 conductor on the male. And the common is, I think, the second ring, or the first ring is common.
Well, there was more information there than I think I could absorb. That's
more information. I'm totally useless.
I wanted to give a shout.
Bluetooth.
Yeah. True enough. Well, I wanted to give a shout out to Jim, KI6JB, because I have been trying in the past here to get onto the Golden Bear net, as Dick W16G is well aware, and KI6JB are well aware, and I wasn't making very good success, and Jim offered to come over to QTH when we were in the Orange tour, and help me to tune my antenna. And it's a vertical. It's an AF-680 high gain antenna, and it's not really terribly heavy, but anytime you put up something that's made out of metal, that's tall, I don't care how many pounds they say it is. I think they advertise it's only less than 30 pounds. When you go to lower that baby, and then you go to raise it again, there's it seems like an unusually large amount of force there, right? So Jim helped me to we lowered the thing down. We did some tests on the ground. I think we even raised it back up again. We didn't bring it back down again. We did it for 80 meters, or 75 in this case, and we did it for the 20 meter band. And
Larry, did you drain all the electrons out between each up and down?
Well, you know what I had to do? I had to dig a deep hole. That was the hardest part. I had to get a post hole digger, and it had to be 4 feet deep, and had to be next to my ground rod.
Oh, wow.
So all those little hungry electrons could go someplace. So, and the lights went on in the house. But I think, Dick, you can attest that I can lap pretty good now, right?
Well, I was just waiting for the opportunity to tell you what a fantastic job Jim did. The other night, the 75 meters is acting very weird right now. If you're on there any frequency, you'll see that, like is crazy. People that you hear all the time aren't there anymore, you know. But they're a KK6QPE signed in the other night, and they just about had a fit. They said, what a great signal. So he's getting compliments and hear him all over the place. It's doing a good job.
But the band is really weird. It's, you know, one night it's great, and, you know, it varies from night to night. It's not just a subtle change. It's
or
radical.
half an hour to half an hour.
Yeah,
you know,
too.
Start off great, and then all of a sudden just disappears. It'll come back in another half an hour. So.
And then I don't know what does Don call it when the band's really bad? They give it it's essentially a free day.
Or you get a blanket check-in.
There it is. That's the term. I didn't know what it was.
You don't get any of that. You got to stay at this now and get on the roll call. Then when it's a bad day, you just get credit for being there.
Yeah, I've been on there for quite a bit. I've been on there more than the 12 times, but they're not getting it.
What time and frequency is that? I used to know, but I don't remember.
It's at 7 p.m. Local, 1900 hours local time, and every night the frequency is 3.975.
And if you're there on Sunday, it's our own Mr. Dick, who is doing the central area.
Yeah, I just got a new antenna up, so
yeah,
I've been playing around a little bit more. I was getting so much noise that it was frustrating for a while.
Yeah, I go to 3.952 also to get the Western Public Service System net, and I checked into that one as well.
Yeah. And
also, I think I've got it. There's another one too. I forget another one on 3.968. I think it is.
You guys mentioned Jim. I have a question for you, Jim. KI6JB.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the other night I watched a presentation on vector network analyzers. They were talking specifically about one called the Nano VNA, and I was wondering what your opinion are of those things, if you know about it.
Well, they're just absolutely amazing what you can get for $100. No, it's not going to compete with a Keysight $100,000 network analyzer, but we're talking $100 for full vector network analysis capability. So it even exceeds your handheld antenna tester like a Rig Expert, which is a one port. These things are 2 ports. You can measure 2-port devices like filters, amplifiers, whatever, as well as antennas. So yes, it's an outstanding development.
I guess the technology has caused the prices. The technology has made these items a lot cheaper than they were in years past.
Yeah, it's all because of these, very, very highly integrated, RF integrated circuits and SDR. It's all in silicon now, so it takes a very simple. What's in silicon is extremely complicated, but what it takes to build these things, it's not expensive and it's not very complicated. So that's why I'm still amazed at the price point. Less than $100 for this capability is just unbelievable.
Those chips mass produced,
They showed one for $60. And by the time you get a couple of accessories, it's less than $100.
Right.
Well, gentlemen, I think we have to wrap this up because we're going to come to our business meeting here momentarily. Mike, W6MEW, I think you wanted to say something. I'll let you have the floor there.
I'm fine.
You sure?
Yep.
All right.
Just a minute ago.
Actually, let me say something. Everybody that's in the meeting that doesn't have a call sign behind their name, would you please do that?
Yeah, and I would request that you just use your first name. Don't include your last name. The reason is because as more people join, there's going to be less and less real estate available. So like James, for example, we don't see your call sign now because the images have gotten smaller and smaller and more truncated. Your call sign gets lost. So if you remove your last name, then it just makes more room on the screen for people to see your call sign.
I only see one person with no call sign, Mr. Pay, Peter Pay. If you could add that, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, traffic for Mike and JGA.
Yes,
What do you see on YouTube?
I just see the home screen with a W60X-4 sign and, you know, and a little color bar.
Okay, because
One-
I am
one
streaming.
quadrant.
I am streaming on the Mount Diablo site.
Okay. Let me refresh the page.
Okay, I'm going to segue here, Jim, K6 SOE, because I got to move on to, want to start the meeting on time. So I want to call to order the MDARC regular meeting for November the 20th, 2020. I want to welcome everybody who's here. I'm looking at the participants list. I'm showing that we currently at this point have 50 people, so glad that everybody is able to join us. If you're a little worried about space for videos and stuff like that, or images, you can select it within Zoom to allow 49 images per screen before you have to scroll to the next page, so to speak, to get to see all the participants. I know that we have kind of prior during our little pre-meeting, we did the little introduction of some new members. I'm going to ask if we have new members, I would like to, you to introduce yourselves again. I don't mean to put you underneath the, the embarrassment flag, but we'd like to know who you are. So I'll open up the floor now to introduce yourself. Just wave your hand if you need to, or unmute yourself and speak if you're a new member.
Use the raise hand icon, maybe?
Yeah, use the raise hand icon, even that.
Hi.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, this is Dave, KN6KVN.
Oh, very good. Are you, you're a recent member, I take it?
Correct.
Have you been a ham for a long time?
I am not. No, brand new.
Okay, very good. Well, we're glad to have you. I think you'll find that being a member of not only this club and probably other clubs as time goes on, because each club has its own particular strengths. We have no weaknesses. They all have their own strengths that you can, you can share. You can share in that. And so I see Keith. Are you a new member?
Hi, yeah. KN6ETI. Thanks for letting me join the club. Much appreciated.
Well, I had to do a lot of lobbying to do this, let you in. It was a tough sell, I'm telling you right now, Keith. After all the questions you asked during the general course,
Yeah.
We had to say, I don't know. No, we're very glad to have you, Keith. Just know that you'll be a great contributor to the club, and we're very glad that you've joined us.
How many committees are you appointing him to?
I'm writing it down as we speak. So let's go to James.
Hi, my name is James Quas, KN6MEG. I just got my call sign last week. I got the technician license, or passed the test like 2 weeks ago. So yeah, I'm all new to this.
Very good. Did you self-study, James? I can't remember.
I did. I totally self-studied, and then I just found the next test, which over by Hamilton, and took it over there. And I'm going to start self-studying for the general as well. But yeah, if there's other advice on getting training, that's great too.
So we say by Hamilton, is that like is that Hamilton Air Force Base? What do you?
Yeah, no, there's there's a club over in North Bay that was hosting it.
Okay. Yeah. Just so you'll be aware that Mr. Loomer and along with W6MEW Mike, they regularly have testing sessions when you want to upgrade, done locally, stores and locally.
Yeah. So
you won't have to travel as far.
Sounds good.
And unless you are in the North Bay, I'm not sure where your QTH is.
No, I'm here in Pleasanton.
Oh, yeah, so this would be certainly a lot easier for you.
In fact, we're having a test session tomorrow.
Yeah, so hurry up and cram for that general license and then come on by. Now, you got to make an appointment with Larry. I don't want to have him
We'll also have a general class coming up in the spring, too.
Spring, yeah. And both, Ralph, I'll get to you in just a second, but you new licensed technicians, you might want to think of some friends of yours who might want to get their license. And James, you might be interested in this too. We do have a technician course starting on January the 12th, and it'll last for 8 weeks. It's been a proven course, and for James, it's, even though you have your license, people like to take the course that just helps to fill in the more of the theory. We go right through the ARL handbook or licensing manual by chapter.
That's great.
And pass it on to a friend and have them register. So thank you, James. I think you can probably lower your hand. Thank you. And Ralph.
Thank you very much. I'm not a new member. I think I've been a member for about a year. This is the first time I've been to a general meeting, and I wanted to thanks for the invitation. It's great to be here. And again, another plug for the class. It was great. I did the ham cram for the technician and learned nothing. And the class, I really understood a lot. It was wonderful. The whole club did an amazing job. And we still had to do cram to get the license, but at least I learned something about the radio side of the house. And kudos to all of you. But thank you.
Well, thank you, Ralph, because we do put a lot of work into our licensing course. And we have, the volunteer discussion leaders who spend a lot of time either in preparation, and I certainly spend a lot of time myself in the organizational part and the creation or the reviewing of the PowerPoints. And so it's kind of nice to get the kudos from the students who have participated in the course. That is always nice to hear. I think John, yeah, John.
Yes, hi.
Hi.
I've been, let's see, I got a novice when I was 14, but I've never worked UHF, VHF, and I've now, I'm retired. I'm living in an apartment, unfortunately, so I'm highly restricted in terms of antennas. So I'm just beginning to play around and see what's doable here. And I got in with a Yaesu FT60R, but I got an aftermarket antenna, and lo and behold, I could actually check into a repeater in San Leandro, which is about 30 miles away.
Yeah,
so
very nice.
that's as good as I've done so far.
Well, I'm sure you're not the only one within our club who has apartment or / condo or even HOA restrictions, and I'd be glad to probably help you out. Do you have a balcony at your apartment?
Yeah, I do, but there again, it's very restricted. They don't even allow you to put flags out there, so I can't even do a hidden flagpole or something. Unfortunately, I'm on the ground floor, so there are folks above me. There is one possibility, which is sneaking a coax out one of my windows. I'm the last apartment in the unit, and so I could go out to the, there's a tiny little enclosed area out at the end there. But the only problem is if somebody finds it, I don't have approval for it, I'm not sure what will happen to it, an antenna.
Yeah. This might be the opportunity for you to buy an oak barrel and put bush beans in it and hide a stealth antenna inside that. If you can have vegetation in your apartment on the ground floor there.
Yeah, another thing you could do is just put your antenna out when you're operating and then pull it back in when you're done.
Yeah, I was thinking of something like that.
Yeah.
I've also been told that getting a mobile mount and putting it on the top of a pizza pan. And I thought that was a very interesting idea, and I like that. So I'll be fooling around with some stuff.
Yeah. So, John, many of us, myself, N6ORB, we don't have permanent antennas. We've got things we can fill up really fast and take it down. So, yeah.
Okay, great.
Help you with that kind of stuff. So.
Okay. Write your call sign down.
Yeah. All thing I want to caution you about when you go to buy that pizza tin, don't do like I did, because I was looking to put a mag mount on it.
Yeah.
It was aluminum.
Okay, I'll take a small magnet with me.
Well, I've got a pizza tin that I'm going to probably take over to Rogers or let him sell it for me, because I can't use it for its original intended purpose. So.
Hi, Larry.
A quick question, Don. When
Yes.
you say an antenna, you talking VHF, UHF, or HF? Just curious.
Well, I was thinking of both, but right now I'm thinking of seeing what I can do with UHF, VHF. But
Okay.
in terms of the
wife's on
HF, in terms of the HF, I was actually, looking at the Zygu 90G, just as a very small unit. Of course, that's 12 volts, so I'd have to get a power supply or build a power supply for it. But that's another thought. The wish list would include an IM 7300, but that's I want to see what's possible before I take that leap.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna actually put the stop on that at this point, Cal. So
sure.
Because we're right in the middle of a business meeting, and I want to.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's. But you know that there's resources out there to help you navigate through this.
Yes, thanks.
So I want to be able to segue as quickly as possible with to the speaker, and so you should be seeing the repeater. You got me started, you guys. You should see.
Larry, you got one more newbie with his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see it. Peter. Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
Oh, sure. So I'm new. I got on the air with a Yaesu FT3D and 17-foot antenna, and I live in an HOA, although I have no rear neighbors and I have high vegetation on either side, so I'm lucky that way. And I'm looking for actually online general courses. If anybody knows where those would be, I did my license down at in the LA club, which was organized really amazingly well. And I'll probably take my general that way as well, but I'm looking for online courses.
Yeah, I would say that I don't know of any online general courses that are available, other than you might want to look at Dave Kassler's series on that subject. He is using an older version of the manual, but it basically hasn't really changed that much. But that's the only one I can think of right off the top of my head. Like Mike, I think, mentioned, we will be having a general course probably mid 2021, I think, is when we're scheduled for it.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, so
well, thank you.
You're certainly welcome for that. And,
yeah, the Kassler YouTubes are very good. There's then W1AEW or something like that, also very good.
Okay.
There's two guys that are really good. The one's really long, Kassler, a little more synthesized. The other guy's very thorough, and he takes you through all the questions. And I use that to get through my extra.
Well, for your extra even. No, very good.
Yeah. No, it was hard work, but I got a 50 out of 50, so it paid off.
Wow, good. I would guess so, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got 51 out of 50, so I don't know. I got extra credits.
I felt good. I think I got lucky, but, I'll take luck any day.
I got
just got one other comment. The club is awesome. I joined originally in '92, and I had kids and kind of got separated for a while, and rejoined again about a year ago. And it's like I'm so disappointed with this COVID, because I wanted to, really get engaged, and this has just put a damper on it. I just can't wait till we can actually be in person. You have no idea, So, but it's a fantastic club.
Yeah, both the in-person and the ability to do more free mentoring, I think, is also a big thing, one-on-one mentoring. Cal, I'll give you a little opportunity here if you wanted to chime in on something here before I move on. Cal?
I just thought I had somebody mentioned a 5150 comment. Was that intentional, or?
Yeah, that was me. I was kidding.
Okay, I caught that reference.
It was a test, Cal. if you were observing.
That's 5150 of the Health and Welfare Code, by the way.
Yeah, never mind. I have to give you an example from medical school. Not I went to medical school, but an example the professor did about teaching of observance. But I better not say it at this point. So, did I cover then all the new members? And I might as well acknowledge any visitors. We have any visitors tonight. Don't have to be a non-member visitor. We're glad to welcome you.
AA 6 a.m.
What were I speak again? I didn't.
MDARC AA 6 a.m. in Benicia. Hello.
Hello. Glad to have you.
Art, are you saying you're not a member?
Correct.
Well, slap your hand.
Art, I see your. I didn't see your picture pop up, but I realize now that you're just a machine. Yeah.
That's it. Just a blue machine.
It's just a blue machine. Yeah. The dot machine. I understand. Well, glad to have you, Art. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
So, any other just visitors?
Yeah.
Here. Oh, Sue, how you doing?
Hi, I'm WA6AGP.
Very
and
good.
I'm from Benicia.
Oh, not really. Okay,
Yes,
very good. You are. Okay. Very good. Any other? I've seen a number of Benicia folks here already. Well, great to have them. Great to have them. We call it friends. We're always glad to have any ham operator is always welcome in the MDARC meetings. So I think I want to move down. As you see here in bold blue here, this election committee with Dick Wade, WM6G. We want to wrap up our election. So for MDARC board of directors officers. So Dick, I'm going to take this screen sharing down, and that will allow you then to screen share what you'd like to do, and I'll ask you to come forward and start.
Okay, very good. Let me see if I can do the screen share here. Nope, that's not what we want, is it?
I don't know. I don't know what you're trying to show.
Well, I don't know what it wasn't what I wanted to show. Let me see here. Screen share.
And in the meantime, everybody should put your thing on mute. Just we get rid of any background noise or that sort of thing. So I'm going to even put mine on mute in case my dog comes in or whatever.
Good, Dick.
Hey, all right, am I showing anything there? Do you see anything?
Yes, it's there.
All right, very good. Let me see if I can get some people with me. All right, my name is Dick, Whiskey Mike 6 Golf, and I'm the chairman of the election committee this year. And my committee included myself and Dave Pearsall. So we're all here tonight, but I'm going to be talking to you about the election. This is the ballot that some of you received in the mails. Most others received it electronically. We hope that you've all voted. If you haven't voted, you have an opportunity tonight to do that. It's going to be a little bit awkward, but you can get it done. So here is the ballot. Here's the list of candidates. They are all unopposed. Made the politics a lot more pleasant that way. Larry is continuing on as president. Vice president is Jan Kulisek. Secretary is Brian Lauder. Treasurer is continuing on is Kathy Walton. Emergency coordinator Ron Bunch. And we have two director out of 4. We have 4 directors. 2 of them are being elected this year. And they are Mike Warren, he's continuing the 2nd term, and Cal Vasquez, K6BT, is going to be a new director, hopefully. So that is the cast of characters. And we're going to hold voting open until 7:45, so that's about 20 minutes from now. I'll put the way we're going to vote. If anybody needs to vote, hopefully no one does, but if you do need to vote, you go to the chat window. My screen looks differently here now for some reason. Bear with me a second.
Yeah, when you're sharing, it messes with your screen.
I have to watch that?
When you're sharing something, it messes with your screen, the presenter's screen there.
Okay. All right, so I'm not saying it where you. So you go to the participants.
No, they just need to right-click on your picture, Dick.
Okay.
Right-click on your picture.
Yeah. So what you want to do, if you want to vote, you can right-click on my picture, and then hit chat, and that will send a private chat to me. You don't want to send a chat to everyone. So right-click on my picture, it'll click on the chat button, and then you can, if you want to vote for everyone, it's listed here. You could say, I would like to vote for everyone on the ballot. If that's not what you want to do, then you need to modify that by saying I want to vote for everyone except, and list the one you don't want to vote for. Or if you want to write someone in, you need to give that person's name and call sign, and hopefully it's someone that you've talked to and they're willing to serve. So that's what we're going to do between now and the next 20 minutes until 7:45. Then we'll close that down, and then at the end of the meeting, we'll announce the results. Okay? So,
any questions for Dick? Again, you haven't had to. You
vote?
Yeah, you can only vote if you haven't cast the ballot already, and that you are a member, a current member. We're not going to hold what you see for Dick's screen share. We'll hold it up there for a few more minutes, maybe 5 minutes or so. We'll hold it up for a little while, but when we ask Matthew to come in, who's our speaker tonight, we'll take this down so he can do his presentation. So give you folks give a few minutes to maybe jot down some notes or jot down some names or whatever you feel you need to do here. So,
and I will copy the list of candidates into the chat window. So if you go in there and you want to vote, then hopefully those will be there, so you don't have to have a perfect memory to find out who you're voting for.
Yeah, and I understand the plan is we'll announce who the new board is at the end of tonight's presentation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, Dick. Any questions for Dick? All right. Very good. If you've not used the raise hand icon and you wanted to say something, that's actually the best way, because I have assigned 2 co-hosts who are just watching the participants list. That therefore they will your name actually then bubbles to the top, and they'll know right away that you had a question. So, Dick, I'm gonna need to drop this down here so I can pull up the agenda, if that's okay.
There you go.
All right, thank you.
Keyboard's clicking away.
Who's that keyboard? I'm just curious. It's a nice keyboard.
Dick. It's Dick Wade.
Is that you,
No,
Dick?
it's not me.
Wow, it's kind of cool. That was a reading message coming through the printer. Okay, so moving on to the minutes from the last meeting. Were there any revisions that need to be made and to the minutes from our October regular meeting? Okay, hearing done, we'll accept the meeting minutes then from October's meeting. Offers of report. I just want to remind everybody that we're not going to be having, for obvious reasons, we're not going to be having a holiday banquet this year. But we do want to kind of get together for something. So we're having a meeting, a time together on December the 6th and at 4 o'clock. Although I will start the Zoom meeting available at 3:30 to give everybody an opportunity to get in and get their audio taken care of and whatever. I'm going to let Ed, when he does his report, just give you a little bit more information about the speaker for that meeting. Yes.
Larry, Trevor has it up.
Trevor's got a question.
Trevor?
And I think the keyboard is LMB.
Larry? The keyboard sound is Larry. Oh, he just muted it.
Yeah,
the
he's
keyboard was Larry. He was unmuted.
Okay, Trevor.
Oh, I said the keyboard sound was Larry.
Oh, I'm sorry. I
was going to say, looking for the keyboard, it was Larry. I could tell. He was
got it.
muted.
Thank you for the detective work. So then following the speaker on December the 6th, we'll do the awards. We'll also introduce the outgoing board and the incoming board. And then we'll just have a time to just gathering as we would do normally as a pre-meeting for this meeting. So we hope to see as many of you there as possible. I know it's kind of tough times. It's not as much fun as our normal annual banquet, but I think that it's something we can do. I also do want to remind you that we do not have a regular meeting in December. So the third Friday of the month, there will be no meeting. Just to make you aware of that. So I'm going to go down to Ed, the Vice President, and KJ6KYT, and let him speak for his report.
Thanks, Larry. I'm assuming there'll be a board meeting in December. Would that be on the 7th?
That is correct. We have a board meeting immediately after the
okay, cool.
The 6th, correct.
Okay, I'll make this quick. So yeah, we are looking forward to Matthew's discussion tonight. And I know he's on the air, so you can't escape us. And yeah, we've asked Bob Heil to do our holiday presentation. We want him to go first. Thankful for that. And I actually connected with him not too long ago just to say, hey, I'll keep it to an hour. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll shrink it down. So, but that said, he said, yeah, I can continue on next time. So we'll invite him back for sure.
All right.
So anyway, so yeah, we're good for the first quarter of next year through March. So I'm not sure what's happening with April. If we're going to do maybe we can do a live auction or a virtual auction. So we'll just wait and see what happens. But other than that, we're good.
So this is going to be done like a serial, is that right? So just as the bad guy is going to hurt the good guy, we have a break until the next time. Is that right?
Exactly.
All right. Well planned. Okay. Very good. So any questions for Ed? All right. Thank you. Moving on then to Secretary Mr. Loomer. Did you have any report?
No report.
All right, thank you. Trevor's report, Kathy, do you want me to display what you had at the board meeting for the financials?
Sure, that would be good.
So I want to make sure this is what we had here. Let's see.
Yeah, it's the October monthly report. That's the one. Thank you.
open this up a little bit and maybe make it so it can be all visible on one sheet. There we go.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you. All right, our MDARC checking account, as you can see here, we had more expense than we had income for the month. So we ended up for the month with a negative balance of $284.73. The balance in the checking account is $46,489. The MDARC savings account is $28,346 plus. So there you can see the total between the checking and the savings account, if you don't want to do the total in your head. So our equipment self-insurance fund is $58,011.21. And then the Pacificon balance is $14,705.59. So we have a total account balance of $127,552.62. So does anyone have any questions?
All right.
No, good.
I don't see anything in the participants window, so thank you very much, Kathy. So, Ron, emergency coordinator, report.
Trying to get that unmute thing done.
Yeah, I understand.
Nothing really to report. There were a couple of little instances the last few weeks, but 2 minutes here, 4 minutes there kind of thing. Wasn't real clear. Someone wasn't trying to work on something. Wasn't really, couldn't quite call it interference. In any case, I'm going to send out a note to all the members requesting their input when they hear something that they think is questionable on the repeater. I'd like to hear about it because I can't sit here all day and listen all the time. So I thought, that might be an easy way for other folks to, one, get involved, and two, help me understand what's going on in repeaters when I'm not around. So that'll be going out sometime in the next few days or week, and everyone should get one, all members, and we'll see how that goes, and hopefully it'll brew a little more interest as well. But otherwise, things are clunking along like usual. Anyone have any questions?
So Ron, I assume that's going to be sent out through groups.io?
I was thinking specifically to members, but whatever works.
Well, I think that's the only, I think at this point, well, we can consult with N6JGA. Maybe it gets on the web page, although I think if it goes to groups.io, you can probably get a large percentage of members.
That's fine with me, whichever.
Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Or if it's important to get members only, then have Roger send it out. But groups have part of the best.
Yeah, but I think since we're kind of doing a network
whoever listens.
survey, whoever listens gets back to you and lets you know.
Yeah, we don't have to limit it to members.
Yeah, correct. Yes. So, any questions to Rob? Very
okay,
good.
thank you.
I would think I'm going to just break here a little bit before we move on to this asking Ed to introduce our speaker. And Lauren, I'm going to put you, WCCE, on a little bit on the spot. Tell us about turkeys. I have a bunch of turkeys wandering my neighborhood right now. Where do you want me to take them? I got to herd them down to your place.
Salvation Army is giving. Am I on mute?
You're not only unmuted, you're in the aquarium. You got to get to the aquarium.
On the aquarium.
You have very poor audio. So
sorry.
I'm not sure. If you know how to do, hold on a second, Lauren. Anybody can give some technical advice for Lauren?
Yeah, have him leave the group and come back in. Reboot the program.
You hear that, Lauren?
Yeah, how about just leave the group?
and come back in. Don't say just leave the group. It's not, that doesn't sound very nice.
Yeah, another thing is to put it into chat if it's not too long.
Yeah, put it in the chat about the Salvation Army and the turkeys. So.
Justin.
Oh, okay, I'll do that.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, I think before you've had this audio thing, I don't know what it is. It's like a reverberation.
Yeah, that's kind of psychedelic.
It is kind of weird.
Kind of turkey sounds.
No, Ed, it sounds clear to me. Does it sound garbled to you?
He has the Doctor Who Dalek filter in it, Ray.
There you go. There it is.
An older Wolfman Jack. There you go.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so
Larry, I can take it.
You can take it. Oh, the question or what?
No, I can take it. If Lauren doesn't come back, I will make the announcement.
Okay.
I took 5 turkeys over there this morning, so I am familiar with the routine.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't you share us the routine then?
Why don't I do what?
Share us how you captured the turkeys.
Routine. Okay.
How you captured the turkeys and got them to Lauren.
No, I went to Costco, got 5 turkeys, put them in the back of my car, and took them over to 3950 Clayton Road in Concord, the Salvation Army, 3950 Clayton Road. They have a freezer trailer there, which they will take turkeys out of the back of your car and put them in the freezer trailer for you, and it's a very simple process. So you have to chase down somebody at the Salvation Army that has a key to the trailer, otherwise you're good to go, and they will accept. I even took some canned cranberry sauce over there today as well. So if you have any other holiday fixings besides turkeys and canned cranberry sauce, they will accept those as well. End of report. Any questions?
Thank you, Larry. Yeah, I think you're saying don't drop it off in the donations pile.
That's all. They don't accept donations anymore. That part has moved to El Cerrito.
Oh. Okay. So any questions to Larry with regards to supporting? I see Terry. Yes, Terry.
You may want to mention that they're looking for turkeys between 12 and 14 pounds.
Oh, good thought. Good thought.
And Costco has a great supply for 99 cents a pound.
Oh, very good. Okay. Okay.
I was going to say the cheapest in the area. So, but great turkeys.
She's already done her homework.
Yeah, very good. So, just segueing on that homework. When's the last day that they will accept turkeys? You know? What's the last day they will accept turkeys?
Monday for Thanksgiving. Monday.
Monday. Okay.
Yeah.
They will need some for Christmas apparently also, but distribution is Tuesday.
Okay, very good. All right. Well, see if you can, gargle, Lauren, see if you can help you with your throat. Okay, so I'm going to take down the agenda and ask Ed to introduce our speaker. Give me a second here. And hold a second. Okay. So I'm no longer screen sharing. So Ed, can you introduce our speaker?
Are we back from outer space? That was pretty bizarre, man. Anyway, I know Matthew's on there. I can see. I saw his call sign earlier.
Yeah, I did too.
And,
I see him. He's here. He's waving.
Oh, there you go. So
might want to adjust down your light. You got very bright light.
Matthew's been around longer than I have for the club. And of course, he was 2018 Ham of the Year and responsible for the monthly newsletter, which is, I'd be honest with you, that's a big effort to do that. But good for you, Matthew, for
tremendous job
to do that, and appreciate it. The club appreciates it. So I'm just going to hand it off. He's going to talk about Morse code keys. And so Matthew, if you're ready to go.
Don't you usually have something that nobody else knows about? That.
No, I used to do that, but I don't know. I haven't been able to do that anymore for some reason. Sorry about that.
All right.
Maybe in the future. But go ahead, Matthew.
Okay, I'll go ahead and try this. The lights for the reading lights, so I have to share my screen.
Yeah, and Matthew, you're just a little bit echoey too.
Well, I have a, there we go. All right. Yeah, I'm in my big room, the great room. So, well, get started here. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I have a reading light over here. I'm Matthew G. Burick, N4DLA. Thanks for joining me. Tonight I'm going to talk about the many different types of keys utilized to send Morse code. I received my novice class license with call sign WB3GYL in Bethesda, Maryland in 1977 on April the 5th. I was 15 years old and was not eligible for a driver's license for another 7 months. I upgraded to technician class license that December and to general class on December 17th, 1978, my mother's birthday. I was issued N4DLA while in college in Tennessee about 18 months later. So I've been sending Morse code for a long time because until I earned my general class license back then, CW, or continuous wave, was the only mode that I and my fellow licensees could transmit on the high frequency bands and only on 80, 40, 15, and 10 meters as a novice, later technician class licensee. And before we get started, just shout out to all the veterans of the uniformed services, especially my father, Jerry, KF6CVA, 26 years active duty, United States Public Health Service Commission Corps. So thank you, veterans. Samuel F.B. Morse invented his namesake code in 1844, but he was an artist, not an engineer. Shortly before Morse sent the first test message on his landline system between Baltimore, Maryland, and Washington, D.C., his assistant, Alfred Vail, invented the lever correspondent. It was a lever acting on a fulcrum, which Vail likened to a key, since the device opened and closed circuit like a key opening a door. To send Morse code dots and dashes. It was basically a switch with a knob mounted on a leaf spring loaded lever. This is today what is known as a straight key. The design evolved somewhat until the modern design was invented and patented by Jesse Bunnell in 1881, which Bunnell called his key the Triumph key. More on that later. At the time, there were over 100 manufacturers of telegraph equipment, and over 300 patents were eventually issued for telegraph keys. The first telegraph key was made of brass, and all the parts were attached separately to a wooden base. A spring was added to the contacts, but later a camelback curved lever was added to help the key fall back after being depressed. This design puts more weight on the rear of the lever. In 1850, a coil spring was added to the key for better balance to eliminate the need for counterweights. The next year, the key mechanism was mounted on a metal frame. This is the first key that I ever used there on the right, and lower right on the left-hand photo. It's similar to Vail's design since it doesn't have a spring, but unlike Vail's, there's no way to adjust it. That screw on there just basically holds it on there. It has the alphabet Morse code, but didn't list the numbers. I guess they ran out of room. And a code practice oscillator was one of the 65 projects. The Theron signalizer was made primarily for the Boy Scouts Merit Badge program. It only flashes when the code is sent, and company name is from Belgium, which I guess the company founders were from Belgium. Code practice oscillators were sold as a Morse code learning aid. And this is a package produced by Hallicrafters in the mid-1960s. The Learning the Radio Telegraph Code book is also included in the package. Underneath that, How to Become a Radio Amateur, where they boxed it in there. The oscillator would generate the tones when a Morse code key was plugged into it. For Christmas in 1976, I received a copy of ARS Tune in the World with Ham Radio, a book that included a code practice cassette but no oscillator. And it probably wasn't sold because the FCC abolished the sending test for Morse code in late 1976. The FCC would give the Morse code receiving test first, and if you passed it, then they gave you the sending test. I recall hearing one ham on the air discussing how his code test went. The FCC examiner cut him off not long after he had started the sending test, as he had already passed the receiving test. And he thought he had flunked the test because he got cut off, but it turns out the FCC examiner said, hey, I got to be at a meeting, and the sending test is going to be discontinued pretty soon anyway because nobody ever failed it. So they got rid of it. It was deregulation back in the mid-'70s. The receiving test wasn't abolished until 2007. Here are some code practice oscillators. The one on the left takes two batteries, one to operate the light and one to operate the sound. If the sound bothers you, it can be switched to the light. The one on the right takes one 9-volt battery and was the only Heath kit I ever assembled. The Midland one on the lower left combines the key with the oscillator, but it makes a horrible buzzing sound and generates radio frequency interference like a spark gap transmitter due to the spark between the two contacts. It just big. The Amico model on the right is remarkable, as once the user learned Morse code, the device could be converted to monitor a transmitter's CW signal if one had a transmitter that didn't emit a side tone when the telegraph key was depressed. Many simple homebrew transmitters back then were toneless. They didn't have the side tone and the amplifier for it, so that was one way to repurpose your code practice oscillator. These are key sounders from the landline Morse code era known as KOBs for key on board. Some were sold for people to use as intercoms in their houses. They were also made so telegraphers could take their equipment from one work location to another. The one on the right was made by the Pennsylvania Railroad employees in their Altoona, Pennsylvania shops for use by their depot and tower telegraphers. That Midland code practice oscillator shown earlier mimics the key on board design. This is the exact model of Marconi key used on the RMS Titanic. It is for wireless telegraphy since it is designed to handle the high voltages present when used with spark gap wireless transmitters instead of the low voltages present in landline telegraphy. This key has an auxiliary set of contacts which are moved when the key is depressed and which mute the receiver when the transmitter is in operation. It also has an emergency switch on the left side which was used to break the circuit if the contact could become welded together by the high current. Let me so I can get my pointer going here. Laser pointer. So anyway, there's that big switch right there. And this switch would disconnect the keying line from the transmitter if it was pulled upward. A rope hanging down from the ceiling was usually attached to the eye bolt on the side of the switch lever. The rope could easily be found in an emergency, and pulling it would disconnect the circuit to the wireless transmitter. In 1881, Jesse Bunnell patented a key design with a nickel-plated steel lever which solved the problem of lateral stability inherent in the brass levers and gave the operator a strong, lightweight, and responsive lever complete with tungsten contacts. Note the coil spring instead of the leaf spring used in the earlier key designs. In 1898, Bunnell modified, here's the coil spring there, modified the Triumph with a hollowed-out frame. As you can see here, they're both hollowed out, to reduce the weight for portability purposes. It had taken almost 40 years to perfect what is now known as the straight key. I will discuss each straight key feature. The knob is usually a round and plastic or Bakelite button used by the operator to move the lever and send Morse code. There are numerous ways to grip the knob. Pick the one most comfortable for you. Some of them have slits below them, I'll discuss later, known as the Navy knob. The circuit closer here sometimes called the shorting switch. When engaged, it shorts the wiring posts, which are over here, to each other. And for landline telegraphy, this was used to allow electricity to flow to the sounder so the messages or telegrams could be received. In radio work, closing the switch sends a constant tone over the air in a process called tuning up. So you speed that up while you just use your freeze up your hands to adjust the transmitter, though a lot of transmitters are later made with a tuning button, so you wouldn't have to do that. The lower contact, or the anvil, is the lower half of the switch that must be opened and closed to send Morse. And when the upper contact, known as the hammer, touches the lower contact, the circuit's closed, and a dit or down is sent depending on how long the circuit is held closed by the operator. The spring tension adjustment regulates how much the lever resists being rotated on the trunnions, these, more about those later, and to make the contacts meet each other, closing the circuit, and also influences how quickly the contacts separate when the operator stops pressing down on the knob. I found little information on the design and development of conical springs for telegraph use, other than they were used, but don't know who the inventor was. The contact gap adjustment is used to adjust the distance between the lower and upper contacts, over here, or the anvil and the hammer, and the gap affects the distance the knob travels, which would be here, this distance here, so it has an impact on how fast you can send and how much your arm gets fatigued. The wiring posts here, for landlines, the key was placed in series with the telegraph line at the wiring post, or an open switch on that line. For radio work, the wiring post wires terminate in a standard 2-conductor audio plug, which is connected into the designated jack on the radio transmitter. And then the frame is the heavy stamped or cast metal piece that holds all the other parts of the key. And now we'll go to the top. So the wedge lip here, and I always wondered what this was, in the early 1900s with the advent of Horace Martin's Vibraplex semi-automatic key, or bug, operators were able to send much faster code with less wear and tear on their arms. The telegraph companies had no interest in buying these. They were expensive, so the telegraphers own their own bug, but to connect it to the telegraph system, a metallic wedge was inserted into the key, electrically coupling the key of the bug to the key. Eventually, this lip became standard on telegraph keys. And the trunnion, there's 2 trunnions actually, is the transverse shorter part of the lever. Well, there's 2 adjustments rather. This is the trunnion. And the trunnion screws here and here hold the lever in place, and when properly adjusted, keep the lever from moving side to side, or control the lateral motion. The screws may be used to adjust bearings, and the bearings usually these days ball bearings or other types. And what follows are some examples of straight keys. The J38 was designed to be used with a signal corps radio telegraph operator training set. These binding posts up here and the shorting strap at the back of the key here, they were used to connect a set of headphones to one side of the key. That's why it says tel line there. And the other to the training set. And the effect was to put the key and the headphones in series. After World War II, these keys that were made by many manufacturers became surplus and were sought out by use by amateur radio operators. A J38 has a lot of parts, so if you're thinking of getting one, make sure it's complete. There are many differences between J38 keys because they were made by a lot of different companies, and even differences the same companies at different times. So these variations are restricted to the use of different types of metal and slightly different shapes, and the stamping of the binding posts and the frame and the base. Lionel was the only company that had its name on the J38, although the boxes, the keys were shipped in, like here. Can't really see who manufactured. Oh, this was the American Radio Hardware did this one. Or had the manufacturer name on them, so the only Lionel put the key itself, but all the manufacturers putting it on the box, if you can find one with a box. And the Amico K1 key has a plastic base, trunnions here, can't be adjusted, and it lacks a shorting bar. It had to be attached to a heavy base when in use. This was the first type of key I used on the air because it came with my Heathkit code practice oscillator. And they're still today, although mainly with code practice oscillators, they're not very robust and will eventually fall apart under heavy use. These trunnions just work their way loose and it just comes apart in your hand. So W6J, I am there with his Ten-Tech Argonaut. There's me with my Ten-Tech Argonaut that I bought new, and I still own it. It's still in the shack. And I still have that base. I just don't owe a wooden base for the K1 key that fell apart. I still have the box. So don't have that watch anymore. It wore out. I'm tuning around in the 15-meter CW novice band. Tried to do portable with dipole made out of tow missile wire, but it didn't work anybody that day, unfortunately. So I've owned an Amico K4 straight key. I don't know what happened to K2 or 3 for over 40 years now, and it's my primary straight key on the high-frequency bands. It mimics the design of the Bonnell Triumph key described earlier, as it has a shorting bar and the adjustable ball-bearing trunnions and the skeleton frame here. You've got the Vibraflex lip. And the red insulators here at the wire terminal posts are a clue that it is an Amico K4 rather than a domestically manufactured key. And they're also marked Japan on the underside. I bought a Bencher RJ1 in 1995, about a year after they were introduced. It's very heavy and operates smoothly, has a very wide lever, and it has that Navy knob on it. The model number honors the late Jim Rafferty, N6RJ, who was a co-owner of Ham Radio Outlet, who passed away in 1993. These keys are still in production, but Bencher's owners retired in 2015 and the company was sold to Vibraflex. This key features the Navy knob, which is the skirt below the knob. Operators almost often added a poker chip to their straight keys to make this skirt so they could rest some of their fingers on it. And the RJ1 has a sealed self-lubricating bronze ball-bearing trunnion set, and they're adjustable here with an Allen wrench that's mounted underneath the base here. It comes with it, and it does not have a shorting bar. The RJ2 has the chrome base, polished base. The Vibraflex no-code key, straight key, was the first of its kind made under the Vibraflex name. It was introduced in 2008, the year after the Morse code receiving requirement for amateur radio general and extra class licenses was abolished. This key's lever arm pivots in a mainframe similar to the Vibraflex semi-automatic keys, which will be presented later. It has an adjustable stainless steel spring to control the lever arm tension. And notice the return spring is acting on the rear top of the lever, applying a downward force. Standard return springs are in front of the trunnion and are loading the bottom of the lever with an upward force. So this is kind of upside down operation here. Just this slight change in the return spring location is responsible for the opposite click. So when most hand key users listen for the click and feel the return as their method of determining the proper format of Morse characters when sending, which is why I don't like using this key except maybe a field day, because it's big, visitors can see it, and it has a big bright red base, and it does not have a shorting bar. The straight key Century Club wooden straight key was handmade by by LTA, or translation is Telegraph Key Craftsman, in the Balearic Islands of Spain from 2006 to 2008. And it's a handmade key. It has a antique Marconi style kind of rectangular key here on a Spanish oak base. And the key features front and rear contacts for make or break keying, as in making contact and ending contact. And it sounds great. And it has a cantilever tension spring at the end of the lever. All of the hardware is plated in 18-karat gold for durability and reliable conductivity as well as appearance. The knob is teak. I don't know, this looks plastic, but the one I have matches the base. And they also made some electronic key paddles with finger pieces that were olive wood. So mine might be olive. I don't know how to test wood, but this is not a picture of mine. I have one, but the key is not. This looks plastic. It's not dark like that. Flame-proof telegraph keys originated during World War I and were designed to contain the spark between the hammer and the anvil, the upper and lower contacts, within a sealed chamber. So you can see everything's all sealed up in there or in there. So it looks like a one-arm bandit and has only one lever on one side, or the lever bends around. And here it has a Y shape. These kind of keys were necessary on early submarines, aircraft, and confined spaces such as aboard ships and submarines where the spark might ignite flammable gases. And I was able to buy a new old stock LJ5 U.S. Navy key in its original box, and it's the smoothest straight key I've ever used. Here it has a plastic cover to cover up where the contacts are. And then this is where the chamber, where the upper and lower contacts are. It's sealed up, so this is what you adjust it with. So and the wire to your transmitter comes out of here. The Bonnell double speed key was invented in 1904 after it was discovered that telegraphers were turning their straight key sideways to reduce arm fatigue, the symptoms of what is now known as carpal tunnel syndrome, or they called then glass arm. It was the precursor to the semi-automatic key. In 1902, Horace Martin, a New York inventor, patented the first semi-automatic telegraph key, which he began to manufacture as Autoplex. Using a battery and coil like those in an electric bell, the Autoplex made endless strings of dots when the operator pushed a lever in one direction. Dashes were made manually by pushing the lever the other way. Since only dots were made automatically, the key was called a semi-automatic key. Unfortunately, the Autoplex required a separate battery and was fairly expensive. This version has a wooden base and is very rare. Most were like this style, which was polished metal. And it looks like quite a contraption. I've never seen one in action. 2 years later, Martin came up with an improvement to his telegraph key that eliminated the need for a battery as well as the electromagnets and other complexities. Instead, the dots were produced by a mechanical oscillation of the horizontal lever striking a fixed post. Unlike the Autoplex, this new key, which he called the Vibroplex, since its lever, the lever here vibrated while in use, and was patented on May 7, 1904, and it could only produce about 10 dots until it ran out of steam. But the telegrapher doesn't need to send that many dots in one sequence, since most dots in a Morse character are 5 in succession. So the new design, worked just fine. The Vibroflex helped telegraphers avoid carpal tunnel syndrome and also helped them send faster, which meant they earned more money, since landline telegraphers were generally paid by the word. The nickname bug probably originated with experienced landline telegraphers' contempt for any type of key other than a traditional hand key. In their opinion, only a bug would use a semi-automatic key. At the time, bug was a term of contempt for a lid or plug, an incompetent operator, telegrapher. As more and more semi-automatic keys appeared and were in use, the derogatory reference to the operator was applied to the key itself. Eventually, the bug won out, and the term stuck, becoming just a moniker and losing its negative connotations. Vibraflex embraced the bug reference and incorporated a red lightning bug as their logo after World War I. Now, bugs were never used with spark gap transmitters because of the high voltages present. Instead, they were used with the new vacuum tube continuous wave, or CW transmitters, since they were not encumbered with the high voltages that spark gap transmitters had. So there were no bugs used by the shipboard radio operators until the CW transmitters had replaced the spark transmitters. Landline Morse operators never faced such high voltages. And another story I heard was that it sounded like a bug. Doesn't want to. There we go. It sounded like a bug. So, how to adjust this one, but it sounds like a bug when it's on the air. So the Vibraplex was based on a lever that rotated around a vertical pivot. So by pushing a paddle mounted on one end of the lever to the right and holding it there caused a spring-mounted contact on the other end of the lever to vibrate against a stationary contact up here, making strings of dots. The Vibraflex used the vibrating arm principle, but had mechanisms to damp the vibrations when they were no longer required. It's also possible to adjust many of the essential operating settings, so everything from the movement of the paddle to the mark space ratio on the dots could be set. The bug uses a dual lever key that had a separate lever for dots and dashes. You can see one there for the dashes, and this one's going to be banging against here, or banging against here, dampened there, but this one's making the dots, this is making the dashes here. This helped overcome the issue they had with inconsistent dots. The most important adjustments on the semi-automatic key are the dot contact lever. Find it here. And the dash contact lever and the damper down here. The objectives are to make the dots of correct length or weight, the correct ratio of dot to space length to prevent high-frequency vibrations of the moving dot contact, which causes scratchy dots, as you probably heard earlier. They're kind of cut off. Haven't adjusted that thing in a while. To prevent any other undue motion or bouncing of the dot contact, and to keep the time between the dot groups and dashes down to its proper level, the length of one dot. That's why I'm still using a straight key. One way to reduce the speed of a bug is the sliding weight here. Moving the mass further away from the spring, which is here, move it farther and farther out, will slow the oscillation of the pendulum arm while positioning the weight closer to the pivot point. Down, if you go back down this way, these are individual weights. So you push it down here, you're going to go faster. Push them out here, you go slower. And by nature of the design, the Vibraflex is a speed key. Word code speed starting around 20 or 30 words a minute, depending on the skill of the operator. Speeds of 40 and even 50 words a minute are possible. Not for me. These weights can slow the bug speed down to 15 to 18 words a minute. Like anything wireless. In 1917, Martin started making the upright or vertical model, and the upright was designed to stand up on the operator's desk, thereby saving space. A typical wireless telegrapher's desk was very small, and space was definitely at a premium. Since the lead telegrapher or the wire chief presumably had even more paper on his desk, the upright is sometimes called the wire chief special. The upright uses a modified version of the Vibraflex Model X single contact design mounted on a narrow upright casting, which is mounted on a U-shaped base. Unfortunately, the upright was a lousy bug, it didn't sell well, and it was discontinued in 1919. Probably why uprights are so scarce. Only an estimated 50 uprights were made, and only 29 were known to exist as of 2013. The VizKey company, founded by K4VIZ, currently manufactures an upright all-glass semi-automatic key. Within about 10 years, the Vibraflex company and a number of clones made by others became very popular. Ted McElroy was a champion radio telegrapher of the 1930s up into the early 1950s. His receiving speed was advertised at 55 words a minute in the mid-1930s, but ultimately Ted was clocked at over 72 words a minute, which is 17 Morse characters per second. McElroy, who only had a grammar school education, used his notoriety to open his Morse code telegraph key factory across from Fenway Park in Boston in 1934. Around 1955, McElroy sold his business to Telegraph Apparatus Corporation. Bennell also made semi-automatic keys. The last key Horace Martin designed was the most unusual. The Rotoplex was introduced in 1941 by the time Martin had left Vibraflex, and featured a frameless design with a ball-bearing pivot, thumb piece, and finger piece molded into a single unit. Kind of unusual. We got them both together here. A built-in cord and wedge rather than binding posts, and a flat bottom base with a rubber sheet glued to it. The Rotoplex was manufactured by the James Clark Electric Company in Louisville, Kentucky. These companies' keys were also marketed as bugs because patent courts held that this particular word cannot be trademarked, ruling that one cannot take a public word and turn it into a private monopoly. The first commercial electronic vacuum tube keyer was the Mon key, sold by the Electric Eye Company of Danville, Illinois, starting around 1948. The Mon key, like all electronic keyers, automatically produced Morse dots when the keying lever was moved to the right, and Morse dashes when the key was moved to the left. As with all early keyer designs, the keying lever was integrated into the keyer unit, often with the paddles protruding from the front end of the cabinet. Most of these early keyers were kind of clunky to operate because they didn't have the best quality keying levers, but this was not something the operator could control. In addition, the Mon key was actually a sort of dangerous instrument to operate, as 120 volts AC was present on the metal keying lever itself in here. So if you took that plastic cover off of there, you're going to get a shock if you touch that lever. Another one was the Duomatic from San Carlos, California, with the key paddles built inside here. Towards the end of the 1950s, people were starting to design the mechanical keying mechanism and the electronic keyer separately. One of the most popular standards was the TO keyer, was mass-produced by Holocrafters of Illinois. The mechanical mechanism used to send became known as a keyer paddle, and this separation allowed for the development of many interesting keyer paddle designs, which continue to this day. Vibraflex introduced their first single paddle key, the Vibro Keyer, in 1960. That particular one was made in 1963. Vibraflex took a frame, pivot, and lever mechanism straight from the bug and just did away with the spring pendulum, which would have been sticking out here. The Vibraflex bug had been one of the best-selling keys for sending Morse code for decades, and its design had barely changed since 1904. Vibraflex carried over the roots of their design principles, and two things stand out that make them different from other modern-day keys designed for use with electronic keyer: the finger pieces and the non-symmetrical left-right movement. The tip of our thumb obviously does not reach, this is for a right-handed person now, does not reach as far as our index finger without contorting your hand. But most key manufacturers make finger pieces that assume that your thumb reach is equal to your other fingers. The Vibraflex finger pieces takes that shorter thumb into account by allowing the thumb to contact nearer the hand than the index finger. The split and unequal length design of the lever here requires different forces from the dot and the dash side. Again, this is a carryover from the bug, but it makes ergonomic sense. We employ more force from our thumb than our index finger when moving the paddle lever. It's simply the natural mechanics in the hand when it's in that position. So the vibrokeyer not only provides a different spring pressure adjustments, but also makes the mechanics of the dot side different from the dash. The result makes the vibrokeyer a better paddle with regards to the dynamics of the hand movement than keys with a symmetrical design. Our thumb and forefinger do not move symmetrically. The force and stroke length of the unequal lengths of the vibrokeyer lever complement our as a non-symmetric design. The iambic version of the vibrokeyer was introduced in 1979, about 17 years after the first iambic keyer was invented. An iambic electronic keyer uses a paddle with two levers. You can see the two levers here. And the right one controls the dashes and the left controls the dots. Iambic means one short syllable followed by one long syllable, but I don't know who first associated this term to a keyer. I went through all QST's online archives, nothing. What gives the iambic keyer its name is that if you squeeze the left and right paddles together, the keyer produces an alternating string of dots and dashes, which gives the iambic keyer an advantage when sending the Morse characters C, F, K, L, Q, R, and Y. And some say iambic keyers are the easiest to operate since they require the smallest amount of hand movements. So you've got a third of the alphabet or so, or 25% of the alphabet, you can get away with that. Dual lever keyers in themselves are not iambic. That's the modern electronic keyer is usually built with the iambic capability for use with the dual lever keyer. Now I don't know. This TO keyer was not iambic, so I don't know what this guy's trying to do with it plugged in here in that picture. The modern electronic keyer is usually built with iambic capability for use with a dual lever keyer. All of the early electronic keyer designs used non-iambic operation, those previous ones from the 40s and 50s. The vibrokeyer appears to be a stunted version of the bug, since the vibrokeyer doesn't have the pendulum arm, so you're talking a couple inches here, and the base is much shorter. These are just a few examples of solid-state keyers. Curtis Electro Devices was started by the late Jack Curtis K6KU in Mountain View, California in 1968. Excuse me, he was a Signetics employee. Curtis made a number of electronic keyers. By 1978, keyers that could be pre-programmed with short messages such as CQ calls were being made, or began being made. The example is this MFJ Grand Master Memory keyer, which used Curtis integrated circuits. By the 21st century, keyers not only had large message memories, but were able to decode Morse characters on an LCD screen, as with this MFJ 464. But starting in the late 1980s, electronic keyers began to be built inside HF transceivers, so one only needed to buy the keyer paddles instead of an external keyer. Very few manufacturers make standalone electronic keyers these days. A non-iambic keyer uses a paddle or paddles, a single lever. So here we've got one paddle, one lever. Now it is moved to the right or left depending on whether the operator wants to make dots or dashes. At the top left is a Kent key currently produced in England, and it's wired on the bottom. A Viz key, all brass vertical key, is on the top right. The lower left is a GHD with 2 paddles, currently produced in Japan. On the lower right is a Tentec KR2A from 1972 or so. Its cabinet only contains the paddle mechanism. There's no electronics inside this thing, but I think they did make gears with the same.
Did we lose him?
Yeah, it looks like he froze up a little bit there. Matthew, can you hear us? Can't tell if you wave your head or not because we couldn't tell, but it looks like something froze up on your system. You want to do a reboot? We can take a break and while you reboot. Let's check the chat and see if there's anything in the chat. Well, it looks like you're going to do a reboot here. So. I think a number of people joined us. They weren't with us during our pre-meeting. So welcome aboard those that came for either for the business meeting or just to hear a speaker.
Maybe we could have Dick give his report while we're waiting.
If he knows it. Dick, do you have a report you can share with us now? You are muted, Dick. Unmute. Let us know.
There we go. Okay, let me get these up here. We had 12 votes tonight from the membership at the meeting. And so that brings our total vote count to 106 members that voted. That's excellent. And it was pretty overwhelmingly supportive of the slate. Virtually all of those went to the people listed on the ballot. So we got Larry Bradley, KK6QPE. He's re-elected as president. Jan Kulisek, KM6NFC. Jan, are you here? I don't think so.
No, he is.
Yes, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. All right. Well, you are now, effective January 1st, you will be our new president. Thank you.
Thank you.
Secretary Brian Lauder. Brian, you're here. I saw you earlier. Here you are. And you are now the new secretary. And then, of course, Kathy Walton, K2CJW, has been reelected. Thank you, Kathy. Ron Butch, W4FEK, is reelected as our two directors. Reelected is Mike Warren, W6MEW, and first-time director Cal Vasquez, K6DT. Thank you all.
Cal is on the board. We're doomed.
You betcha.
Oh, no. Oh. Good to have you on the board, Cal.
Thank you guys for serving.
Yeah, and thank you.
Keep them honest.
Yeah.
Did Trevor fall asleep?
Probably.
I don't know what happened. I got cut off, and the internet was not cut off here. So I don't
yeah, it's okay, Matthew. Again, it's an opportunity to do a segue into. I've used segue a couple of times this meeting. I must have just heard that word from Reader's Digest, word power or something, huh? But anyway,
I'm almost done. So.
Well, it's been great so far. So I'm going to suggest you go ahead and screen share.
Okay, did you see this part yet?
No.
No.
Okay.
That was a test, wasn't it? That was a test.
Yeah, let's see. Did you see all this one?
No.
No? That one?
Yes.
Yeah, we've seen that. We saw this one.
Okay.
But that's where you went silent at.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'll just go back over to non-iambic key. A non-iambic keyer uses the paddle or paddles with a single lever. So we've got one lever here and one paddle. This still has one level, but you got two paddles here, which is moved to the right or left depending on whether the operator wants to make dots or dashes. This is a Kent key at the top left, currently produced in England. It is wired on the bottom. A Viz key, all brass vertical key, is on the top right. Lower left is a GHD with two paddles. See here, two paddles here, one lever. Currently produced in Japan, and on the lower right is a Tentec KR2A from about 1972. Its cabinet only contains the paddle mechanism. There are no electronics inside, but they did make keyers that look like this that have electronics inside. A Bencher BY1 key is at the upper left. I bought one of these in 1995. It's very smooth. However, its finger pieces are flat, while some other keyers' finger pieces have impressions to follow your finger contours. The design dates from about 1973, and over 150,000 have been produced and continue to be made.
I've had that ice cream for a while. It's just cookies.
Cookies. The model number was chosen to reflect the then rare DX call sign prefix assigned to Communist China, but just because you have a key with a rare DX call sign doesn't mean you can work it. On the upper right is an N2DAN key, which uses magnets rather than springs to operate the paddle. It's very smooth. I tried one out at the Dayton Hamvention in 2009. It was like your fingers became part of the keyer itself. It was amazing. But they sell for over $700 a piece, and they're now made under the Bencher name, which is owned by Vibraflex now. On the lower left is another Kent key made in England that has the dual paddles here. And on the right is a Tentec KR1B, which requires 12 volts DC just to make the electromagnets for the paddles work in it. There's no keying mechanism inside, and designed to be used with the Tentec HF receiver with a built-in electronic keyer. Tentec transceivers have a 12 volt DC output to power accessories. On the left is Heathkit's first electronic keyer, the all-transistor HD10, which was sold from 1965 to 1974. It had a single paddle that actuated two micro switches for dots and dashes. It could be built with two different speed ranges, 10 to 20 words a minute or 15 to 60 words per minute. Super slow-mo or super fast. Ran on 120 volts. Could only be used with transmitters that had grid block keying, which was most of the Heathkit tube transmitters and transceivers from that era. On the right is a Tentec Model 607 single paddle keyer with a Tentec Century 21 HF transceiver, which operates CW only. It was made in the late 70s and early 80s. The MFJ 422 on the left used a Curtis chip in a MFJ keyer on top of a Bencher BY1 dual paddle key. I bought one of these from the N6MZU state in Inglewood, California. N6MZU is my wife's late ex-father-in-law. And I had a misadventure with the LAX TSA screener when I went to fly back to Oakland from Los Angeles because I put it in my carry-on instead of leaving it out on the in one of the bins, and they saw that big heavy piece of metal in there, and they were wondering about it. I asked if I could demonstrate it, and once they saw what it was and did their little checks on it, they didn't want any demonstration. They let me go. This is the Heathkit HD 1416. It was the successor to the Heathkit keyer seen in the previous frame. It was sold from 1975 to 1983. On the upper right is a Katsuni EK160, which was last made in 2011 and folded. The EK160 can also be operated as a semi-automatic key, meaning you can operate it like a bug where you have to manually form the dashes, but you still get automatic dots. On the lower right is a Tentec KR50 Ultramatic around 1976. These are all iambic or the squeeze keyers. Now, touch paddles are really stealthy. They don't make any noise. No clicks, no clacks, and the paddles don't move. So the contacts don't oxidize or corrode. They're also very lightweight for portable use. Your skin resistance or skin capacitance causes the electrical flow to make the dots and dashes, but just don't use it with that spark gap transmitter. Very few combination keys were made. The one in the upper left was sold by Ham Radio Center in St. Louis, Missouri from around 1977 to 1985. It's unusual that the mounts for the keying mechanisms are both plastic. On the upper right, which is, I believe, the Ham key design is based on, is a Brown Brothers combination made in the 1970s, which was also made in St. Louis. On the lower right here is a triple combination sold by Vibroflex in the late 2000s. It features a single lever vibro keyer, a straight key, and a semi-automatic key with a chrome base. And this sold for around $1,200. On the lower left is a triple combination homemade by KF6U, who lived in Concord. I don't know if he was ever a club member. And he passed away in 2017 at age 100. It has a single paddle key, straight key. Looks like, not quite sure if that's, doesn't look like an Amica straight key. And a single paddle touch key. And he made this himself. This system was used with his Drake C-Line HF transmitter and receiver. Keyboard keyers emerged in the 1970s. They were solid state, made of metal, and were well shielded. Atronics, MFJ, and HAL were just some of the manufacturers. If you think you can plug your plastic computer keyboard into an electronic keyer and start sending Morse code, think again. Those keyboards are not shielded and RF will get into them and mess up your sending. MFJ and K1EL make Morse code keyboard keyer systems that avoid those problems. Sending Morse code with a keyboard is not a new idea. In 1855, David Hughes invented the printing telegraph, shown at the upper left. The device was made by linking two 28-key piano-style keyboards by wire. Each piano key represented a letter of the alphabet, and when pressed, caused the corresponding letter to print at the receiving end. A shift key allowed an alternative character to be assigned to each key, for example, a digit or punctuation mark instead of a letter. A 56-character type wheel at the sending end was synchronized to run at the same speed and to maintain the same angular position as a similar wheel at the receiving end. When the key corresponding to a particular character was pressed at the home station, it actuated the type wheel at the distant station just as the same character moved into the printing position, in a way similar to the daisy wheel printer of the 80s. It was thus an example of a synchronous data transmission system. The problem was telegraphers could send faster with their straight keys than this gizmo could. But sometime before the last Hughes telegraph disappeared, American Christopher Latham Sholes visited a telegraph office and observed the Hughes keyboard in action. Inspired by the machine's ability to print characters on paper, Sholes returned to his workshop and developed a similar but entirely different device. On June 23, 1868, Sholes was granted a U.S. patent for the typewriter. So that's it. These are some good references for the automatic keys. There's straight key info in the book on the right. It does everything else. The only thing I don't like about it, the pictures are too small, but you could have done 2 volumes, and this publisher, knowing book publishers, probably said no. So they had to make the pictures smaller to fit everything in. And also those web pages are excellent sources of information. I learned a lot about keys by putting this when I was putting this presentation together. And the story of the key is available on PDF online. So that's it.
Thanks, Matthew.
Any questions?
Presentation very comprehensive.
Thank you very much. You're very welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Any questions?
Happy,
from
happy Thanksgiving to everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that picture.
Yeah, that's the contractor driving into my house, but luckily the house wasn't finished yet. It took 3 days to drag. It took 6 hours to drag the thing out. But that's because the tow company knew what it was doing. They put down cribbing. They didn't scratch the driveway up, whatever. But they broke the water main in the house and flooded it.
That sounds like a whole new presentation there.
Yeah, well, no
So much-
adult supervision. And it was the welding gang working on the railing on the stairs up to the street. They weren't even doing work in the house. They just went down to pick their tools up.
Wow.
Wow.
Let's face it, no one's injured.
No, the driver was not. He was just very embarrassed. And you see the security camera up here. Unfortunately, the system wasn't hooked up yet. So otherwise, I have another camera from where the photographer was facing. So we would have got the whole thing on tape or video.
Wow. Well, thanks, Matthew. Are there any questions? I didn't check the chat, but while we're checking that, Matthew, check your inbox. We give our traditional, a token of our appreciation. There'll be a certificate of appreciation, and of course the usual DX Engineering gift card.
Thank you very much.
So appreciate it. And any questions for Matthew?
This is Pete. Go ahead, Mike.
No, I'm just saying there's nothing in the chat. Go ahead, Pete.
Matthew, I just had one question that occurred to me on your second to last slide. The keyboard keyer.
Yeah.
And maybe I didn't hear exactly your description, but how does a keyboard send Morse code? I don't. Where's the keyer part?
Well, the keyer part is inside the box itself. So it's just like having an electronic keyer. Instead of you making the characters, the typewriter makes the characters. So they come out of a cable and you plug it into your radio.
So you don't have to know Morse code to send?
No, you don't. And some of the new systems, you don't need it to receive because I wanted to use it at another club I belong to. I wanted to get a system so we could make more CW contacts for the people that didn't know code. They could, what I call a prosthetic device, could watch it decoded on an LCD screen. But I've gotten to the point where I can tell when somebody's using a keyboard keyer because their Morse code key is just too formed too well. So, but people can watch it. Some of the other, there's K1EL, you can just watch what you're sending as well as you're receiving. So, but if you can't just, there was some of these people, I don't see how it works, but I guess some transceivers can decode a keyboard and send it into Morse, but these themselves generate the characters themselves. But there's the one that K1EL sells. He sells, the box is separate from the keyboard. So I guess because some people use software-defined radios, they can use their own keyboard that comes with the radio or with their computer if it's shielded properly, because otherwise the RF will get into your keyboard and you start sending gibberish.
Wow, that's amazing, Matt. Thank you. I really enjoyed your presentation. What a history of Morse code keyers. Amazing.
Yeah, I would agree. Thank you very much. And it's so lengthy there, and I just remember being a little bit younger in my life, and they were doing this little thing. I was so fascinated by all the way that they could do it very quickly when I was in the military. But yeah, and so they do. You can, from my understanding though, you can hook up your computer to do this, right? I mean, that's my understanding. There's new stuff that you can get, like at the ham shack or whatever, radio outlet, rather, right?
Yeah, I don't know if there's software that can go in your computer to generate, and have the voltage right to key your radio up with that, because my equipment's a lot older, So my equipment was made in the 80s, so HF equipment anyway. So I wouldn't try something modern, try and plug it in to use the keyboard. But some of the newer radios, I think even Elecraft have accessories, or they have the screen on the transceiver can translate or decode the Morse characters for you for receiving and transmitting.
Well, thank you. Great presentation. Thank you.
Matthew, I got a question for you.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay, I guess years ago, I guess it was, I was at a house and they were selling stuff, and I got a couple of I think they're J1s or J3s. And the lady told me, she says that, she didn't know if they were all, anything was missing on them. So I just bought the whole thing and I just put them away because, they don't do Morse code anymore for the test. And I was wondering, are they interchangeable, like from J1 to J5, or? Because I think I got one that says Lionel on it.
Well, the one that says Lionel is probably a J38, because the J5 is the Bunnell flame-proof key, so that's a different creature. There's a guy that just has a J38 web page where I got that picture from. I don't know if I can get back to it, but if you just Google J38 key or J38, he has the whole parts list and everything for that.
Oh, okay. All right. Because I like to put it together and kind of, learn how to do Morse code.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
So I'm assuming this will be available, the slide presentation. Is that true?
I think it's going to be available on YouTube.
On YouTube?
Yeah.
Can you send a PDF copy to Mike, and maybe he can put it on the webpage if he has your permission to do that?
I did not grant permission for that. Sorry.
All right. That's okay. We're pretty good at breaking copyright laws anyway. No, just kidding. Just kidding, Matthew. At least in your case.
By the way, this is my first key when I was a novice in 1961. I think this is an Amico, if I'm not mistaken.
We don't see it. We can't see it. Who's showing?
Dave, WA6U.
WA6U.
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Maybe Matthew can clear his screen.
Maybe.
You can see it
yeah, I can stop. Get it.
Yeah. I think it's just an Amico.
Does it say Japan? Well,
I got it in AMRAD before it became Ham Radio Outlet in Burlingame.
Yeah, I'm trying to.
Yeah, if you guys go to speaker view and then show that, they show it again, or you have to talk though. So.
Yeah. Well, it's okay.
There you go. There you go. Keep talking.
Yeah. So this is it right here. Yeah.
Well, can you turn it to the side, please? I can take a look. Yeah.
Yeah, and keep talking, Dave, so we can all see it.
Yeah. So this is it right here. It's 1961, as I said, and I purchased it at AMRAD in Burlingame, pre-HRO. 1961. Sorry about the lighting. I don't know.
That's okay. Yeah, but you purchased it new though, right?
Purchased.
Yeah, it was probably Amica.
Yeah. Anyway.
It's brass, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It works very well. I still use it on straight key night, on New Year's Eve.
I have no idea how old mine is. They don't have serial numbers, and I bought mine for like $3 at a Hamfest in 1977. So, because that plastic one was falling apart.
Yeah. What a fascinating presentation! Oh, that was just mind-boggling.
And Dave, thanks for sharing your holiday tree there. You're pretty early, but good.
I see Ron FEK showing his off as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not green screen chroma key. It's the actual background.
Okay.
Or artificial green screen, which you can do with Zoom nowadays.
All right, everyone. I appreciate it. Guess I'll hand it back to you, Larry. Matthew, great job. Appreciate it very much. And we'll see everyone next time. Larry, go ahead.
All right, thank you, Ed, and thank you very much, Matthew. That was very, very interesting. I just thought it would be it's a great segue to, well, I think it was the Benicia Club had the person from Long Island, New York, with the Long Island CW Club. How many of you heard that? That was Benicia, right? Thank you, Michelle. Benicia, yeah. Thank you for the invitation too, Michelle. That was extremely interesting about how to learn CW. So I think this is a great presentation to have as a follow-up to that. How many members did they have with the Long Island CW Club? It was over 1,000 members, if I recall, 1,500 or something like that. It's phenomenal. And they offer 50 classes a week. No, a day? A week. 50 classes on CW a week, from beginners to advanced. And
50 adult classes and 9 child classes.
there you go. Thank you, Jim. Yeah, Jim was a co-presenter that night, right? Thank you, Jim.
They had a segment about that on Ham Nation about 2 or 3 months ago about the Long Island Club. It was amazing, just amazing.
Really was amazing. And
we should do a talk for this club.
yes, we do. That would be great. I know is it if I'm sorry I forget the gentleman's name from Long Island who did the presentation, but
That was Howard Bernstein.
yeah, I know it's
that's it.
pretty late in the evening for him. I know that with a 3-hour difference since I've got a daughter and grandchildren who live on Long Island, so it's tough sometimes to get the time together there.
I got a quick comment in regards to CW. You know, everyone thought that Morse code would disappear completely from amateur radio after the requirements were eliminated in the exams, but there's a renaissance. CW is more popular than ever now because it's fun. You know, it's amazing. A big renaissance in CW, in Morse code, in amateur radio. It'll never die.
Yeah, I think I guess I have heard this sort of a resurgence, huh, Dave?
Mm-hmm.
Of interest. So, well, I'm going to, before I close the meeting, we have the time if anybody wants to bring up another subject or just chat, or it's sort of open to. I'm going to ask for adjournment. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
I got a motion.
I make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
And all in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the meeting now is officially adjourned at 8:47, so Larry can put that in the minutes. So now that we're off the clock, so to speak,
Not
we
yet.
can. Huh?
Not yet. Let me stop the YouTube video and remind everybody that they can go to MDARC Media and watch tonight's presentation.
Right, thank you.
Want to review what's going on. So.
Did you able to take my jokes out? You gonna be able to do an edit on my jokes?
Nope, everything stays in. It's live.
Oh, great.
Post-production. All right.
Oh, my goodness. I'm in trouble now. I'll be hearing some knocking on the door. I hear knocking on the door